Right, we are rolling. We are rolling. The video that I've probably been putting off making now for such a long period of time is essentially here, right? I've literally just clicked record on the camera, and this is going to be a completely unfiltered, unedited, raw, honest, straight to the point video about how I ended up in the darkest place of my life just over 2 years ago. And I'm going to be taking you through literally absolutely everything. This may get quite emotional at times, but hey ho, it is what it is, right? I've actually made a video like this prior, but I wanted to make another one, and this is why I've held off making it for so long, because I've already had a video like this. But I wanted to make another one that was just literally raw, honest, me talk to the camera, going through a few points, and hopefully being able to motivate you or inspire you, or literally whatever you take from this video, just as long as it's a positive. That's this video served its purpose, and me being open and honest with yourself has served its purpose. So with that being said, let's waste no time and let's get ourselves straight on into this. So if you are returning to the channel, massive welcome back as well. Thank you for coming back and of course watching the videos as well. But if you are new around here, my name is Mark Foy, and that's what I wanted to start this video off with. Who am I and what do I do and what am I talking about within this scenario as well? So as I say, if you're new around here, my name is Mark Foy and I am the owner and the coach at Foy's Fitness Coaching as well. And just over 2 years ago, I ended up in the darkest mental and physical place I've ever been in my life due to a significant amount of weight that I gained and completely losing my way of life, and my life doing a complete 180 in just a matter of time. And of course I'm going to get into that today, but I wanted to first of all give you a little bit of extra context of who I am and what this video is about and what do I do. So I am a fat loss coach, and I've been a fat loss coach for the last 6 years. And I work with men and women, not just one or the other. I work with men and women to help them finally break that yo-yo diet and cycle they've spent years and years and years of their life stuck in, so they can finally regain their confidence, happiness in their own skin, and finally start to achieve results that they can sustain and maintain for the rest of their life. So they're not living a life being consumed by weight loss, right? Because that's where essentially we can start. My entire life, right up until about 2 years ago, was consumed by my weight, right? I was never your typical come out of the womb with washboard abs, never struggled with my weight my entire life, never struggled with my mindset, never struggled with food. That just isn't fucking me, right? That's not me, right? That's not the person I am. From the day, essentially, that I was old enough to fucking walk, right the way up until probably 20, 21 years of age. Yeah, 21 years of age, I struggled with my weight my entire life. It was always an uphill battle for me, and something that, as I say, I've always struggled with right the way as a kid, growing up, going through my teenage years, and of course going into my early 20s as well. It was something that I struggled with massively my entire life. And you know, you may be watching this and you may resonate with me. We may be on the same page. Struggled with my weight my entire life. And just to go back a little bit of a touch here, just over 2 years ago, I ended up in this position that I'm going to put on screen now. As you can see, yeah, the hardest place I've ever been in before, mentally and physically, in the worst shape of my life mentally, worst shape physically, but also in the deepest and darkest place I've ever been in my entire life, right? At this point in my life, I felt like I was essentially in a hole that I was never going to get out of, right? In just a matter of time, my life had done a complete 180, because through my teenage years, as I was saying before, I struggled with my weight my entire life. Growing up through primary school, going through secondary school, I got bullied for my weight, right? I was always the big kid. I was always the fat lad. I was always the big one of the group. And that led me, when I was in my younger years, in my teenage years, to start boxing and pick up a sport to try and actually be able to defend myself, because in all honesty at the time it was difficult. But then that also led me to find my passion for health and fitness, but also find my passion for actually showing people what the quality of life is like on the other side of weight loss. So cut a long story short with that, between the ages of 13 and 18, I was an amateur boxer in the UK. And of course, right away throughout that time, I lost weight, got into a better shape, still struggled with my weight. I was still a big lad. I was still boxing at like 90 kilo at anywhere between 14 and 18 years of age. And yeah, weight was still something that I massively struggled with. Binge eating within that period of time was something that I struggled with too, right away throughout my teenage years. And that's where essentially I've got a note here of where it all changed. Obviously, when I was 17, I became a coach. And just to give you some extra context, I'm 23 now, turning 24 in just over 2 months' time. And over the last 6 years, I've been a fat loss coach, right? And that is what made me start as a coach in the first place, is the passion and the feeling that I got for the first time when I started to lose weight, of the quality of life, the confidence that weight loss can bring. However, when I was 17, of course, I became a coach. But when I was 18, things really started to spiral. I went from being in okay shape to completely losing my life within a matter of 2 years. And I made a video upon this today, actually, at the time of me making this video. within 2 years of my life, between 18 and essentially, well, I'd say 17 and 19, 17 and late 19 as well, I gained 5 stone of body fat in a matter of 2 years, right? In a matter of 2 years. And it was tough, to say the least. It was difficult because COVID hit. I stopped boxing. I couldn't really work because of like COVID, obviously restrictions, and I completely lost my way. I started to revert for food, for comfort. I started to revert to alcohol as such. As I say, as soon as I turned 18, it was partying all the time, drinking all the time, drinking Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just to try and fulfill me with some form of enjoyment. And that is the honest truth. And you know what? It's fucking unedited and unfiltered. And that is the honest truth. I was trying to run away from a lot of things at that point in my life. Not like I had a bad upbringing, by the way, I never. But at that point in my life, 17, 18, I was running from a few things that I was probably struggling with at that point in my life. Therefore, it led me to revert to food and alcohol as comfort. And within 2 years, I gained 5 stone of body fat. And as I say, I ended up in a position where I didn't want to leave the house. I felt extremely uncomfortable. I actually hated what I was looking back at myself on a daily basis. I hated even getting dressed. I felt so self-conscious. I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed that I was a coach at that point within my life, and I let myself get to that point, right? And you know what? That in itself, to be able to, actually, what's the word to use here? Be aware that I'd let things go that much was fucking hard. It was really, really hard. And just to give you a little bit of extra context on top of that as well, obviously just over 2 years ago, it really turned around for me as well, because even though I essentially gained over 2 years 5 stone of body fat, I'd spent 2 to 3 years of my life after gaining that weight, because I was trying, don't get me wrong, I was trying between like 19 and 21, 19 and 22 to lose that weight. So essentially I was trying, but this is why I help people break that yo-yo diet cycle, because I was once stuck in that point. I spent 2 to 3 years of my life stuck, stopping and starting every single Monday just trying to lose weight, but I just couldn't, because my mindset was in that all or nothing place, right? If I couldn't give it my all, I may as well give it nothing. I'd get to the weekend, I'd go for a few extra beers, I'd go for a meal out at a time, and it'd spiral, and it just spiraled on a weekly basis, and I stayed stuck for a 2 to 3 year period of time as well. And what I started to notice was, even though I was trying, I was still at the same weight that I'd gained over 2 years, and it was affecting my business. It was affecting my energy and how I show up for my clients, friends, my relationship at the time. And it was literally leaking into all areas of my life. And that, to admit now, still is hard, because it was affecting everyone around me. My energy, it's difficult. I'm not going to lie, it gives you like a lump in your throat to think about it that way. But it was hard. It was hard. It was a really difficult part within my life as well. And, I've got here, where did things start to change after where it all started? And that's what I want to move on into before I carry on, and probably get a more emotional talk about that as well. Things started to change for me in November 2023. The very end of 2023, I actually had the big wake-up call that something needed to fucking change. And I needed to change my life around, because the direction things were going was really dark, in all honesty as well. As I say, I kept trying. And then, as I say, I started to notice myself losing my way again. And if that carried on, I don't know where I'd be today, 2 years later, in all honesty. And at the end of 2023, as I've got on the notes on my phone here, I actually went to Tenerife for my dad's 60th birthday, right, where my entire family were there. And what was meant to be a holiday that celebrated my dad, his 60 years on the planet, turned into an absolute living nightmare for me. Because I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't think about enjoying the holiday. I couldn't think about being present, because I absolutely hated how I looked, how I felt, the thought of getting dressed, the thought of actually going on a clothes shop, the thought of having my t-shirt off. We actually had a boat party for his birthday, and that was the turning point for me. To actually be with my family on that day and not want to get in the water, not want to have my t-shirt off, celebrate being in the sun, have a few beers, get in the water with my parents, be able to enjoy and be present with them. For me not to be able to enjoy that, and all I could think about at that time was myself, my weight, and how shit I felt within my life. That to me was the turning point. Like, my life could not go on like that anymore, when all I was, literally for 21 years of my life at that point, I was fed up of being consumed by my weight, right? I'd been consumed by my entire life. And for me, I was just fed up. I was fed up, and enough become enough. And I say that now, and I say it with passion, because enough just become fucking enough. I had enough of my excuses. I had enough of putting things off. I had enough of saying, I couldn't change because of this reason, I couldn't ask for help because of this reason, because in all honesty, it was just bullshit. It was just bullshit. It was me trying to stay in my comfort zone because it was it was easier to stay in my comfort zone than it was to potentially face the fear of failure and face the fear of change and not accept, and actually accept that I wasn't in the position that I thought I was in, or thought I wanted to be in, right? When I actually put that to the side and got out my own way, my life completely changed. And that essentially leads me on to essentially when things did start to change, right? As I say, I had that holiday at the very back end of 2023, and at the start of 2024, January 2024, I decided to change my life around. I understood that I'd been stuck in this yo-yo cycle for the last 3 years, but over the last 5 years, my life had took a completely downward spiral because of my weight, how shit I felt within myself, and how self-conscious and how ashamed and how embarrassed that I was within that point in my life as well. And even saying that is so hard to say, but it's the truth. It's the truth, right? And at the very start of January 2024, the road out ahead of me was a long one, right? It was a long one. I knew I had a long way to go. And in all honesty, I thought I only had 12, 15 kilo to lose. But here I am today, 30 kilo down from that point in my life, which is something that I'm proud of. But it shows there was a hell of a lot more to lose than essentially I thought there was, right? And as I say, that was the turning point in my life, that holiday, and essentially what it made me feel like, right? And at the start of 2024, I knew something needed to change. And for me, I knew that cycle needed to be broke. And I knew as soon as I broke that cycle and I could actually understand how to actually have a social events, be able to spend time with my family, enjoy the weekend without feeling like I fucked up and I was guilty and I'd let myself down, my entire journey would completely change, right? And at that point in my life, it did change. And as I say, I've got a few notes here as well. A few of the things that I've done within that point in my life, right, that, as I say, that helped me change. And a lot of people ask me this question all the time, was straight away, was understanding that I have not fucked up by having one slow day, one off day. You haven't fucked up, right? Because at that point in my life, right, when I was 5 stone heavy, I could barely walk down the road without getting out of breath, couldn't even run, couldn't even train. I wasn't training, I neglected myself. It was unrealistic for me to start to set goals of training 5 times a week, walking 12,000 steps, 10,000 steps every day. It wasn't real. Eating chicken, rice and broccoli every meal, it wasn't realistic. So I needed to match my expectations and match what was where I was within my life to move forward. And that is essentially what I did. I actually brought on my own coach at this period of time within my life as well. Alistair was my first coach. And from there, we really started to move things forward as well. And actually really start to get me working slowly but surely in the right direction. And this is why, even now looking back, it was one of the best decisions that I ever made, was actually getting someone to help me out. And I'm not going to lie to you, I was ashamed. I was embarrassed to admit that I needed help, especially as a coach whose job it is to help people lose weight. I actually felt at the time that it was a weakness asking for help. But now looking back, still 2 years on, with a coach and with someone, and I don't just say this by the way because I'm a coach, because as I say, this is just fucking unfiltered and raw. It changed my life because straight away I could take the guesswork away, I could take the overwhelm away. I had the support, I had the accountability, I had someone to lean on whenever I needed it. I had someone to hold myself accountable to taking those actions. Someone to put something in place for my life when I was trying to juggle such a busy life in general, trying to build my own business, look after my own clients, look after me, relationship, family at the time, you name it, right? I needed that guidance. And from there, I started to move forward. And one of the biggest things for me that changed everything was I set a goal. In all honesty, I set a goal. I had a goal within my life, and at that point, I was going traveling in September 2024, and that was a trip of a lifetime for me, right? That was a trip of a lifetime, and I knew that if I went traveling for 3 months at that point in my life, by the way, 3 months in that same position I was in, I would have fucking hated. I would have hated the entire thing. I had no choice. If I felt the exact same way that I did on that holiday while I was traveling for 3 months, it would have ruined an experience of a lifetime. An absolute experience of a lifetime. Would have just absolutely ruined this. So that was the focus that I had. Not just getting in shape for that, but I also knew what I wanted to do after that and really start to move things forward and make this a lifestyle change. I wasn't looking for a short-term fix, a shortcut, a way out. I was looking to actually change my life, and I was serious about that as well. And what helped really be able to do that was, as I say, working with a coach that actually helped me be able to break down that mindset as well, and learning myself and educating myself within that period of time through that process of how to break that cycle, essentially. And what I didn't focus on was being perfect. I focused on actually being consistently good. And when I focused on that in my mind, is okay, right, because we're all going to have social events. It's all about how we respond, right? And once I understood it's about how you respond, and actually understood the logistic side of things of, that's why I haven't fucked up. That is why one thing hasn't fucked anything up. It's important to keep things moving forward. Yes, there is an exact way that we can do that, and there's an exact way that you can break that all or nothing mindset and that cognitive distortion, essentially that mindset distortion. But it was the accountability and the support that I had in that time, and that is just a raw, real and honest point upon that as well. And, for myself, I set a few goals within that point in my life as well. I'm just getting my notes back up as well. I set a few goals within that first, basically 9 months of 2024 as well, not only to go travelling, but I had a goal of actually wanting to get running again. So I started to develop up my running and booked the 10k race, which is pretty cool. I'm going to put a photo on screen somewhere. Booked the 10k race and wanted to focus on getting sub an hour. I got a sub an hour, which was insane at the time. Off the back of that, I had another goal that I wanted to set, which was complete my first Hyrox at the time. I got a ticket, and then I went and done my first Hyrox at the time. And this was really where I started to believe in myself again. In all honesty, I started to actually go, you know what, you can all over again, Mark. Like, you can do that. You can do it. And that was one of the biggest changes mentally I've ever had. And in all honesty, it was one of the best feelings I've ever had before as well, because I really started to believe in myself again, that I could do something. From lacking any belief and lacking in myself again, I was like, right, okay, I can do this. And those short-term goals that me and my coach at the time set together helped me be able to keep accountable and move forward, right? It really, really did, because for years I never had no goals. I never understood how much I wanted to lose, what I wanted to achieve. I didn't have any ambition to achieve any goal. And I will always say, you can't achieve a goal that you can't see. A lot of people don't like setting goals because there's pressure. What if they don't hit that goal? Well, do you know when you don't have a goal, it's like pissing in the fucking wind and hoping for the best, right? Best of luck with it. Like, people can do it, but before you know it, you've been losing weight 5 years, 10 years. You've got no urgency, no clarity, and no direction, right? And that, for me, created it. And that followed on with a photo shoot in July 2024, my own clients, which is fucking special. One of the best moments I've ever had before as a coach. But in all honesty, I still didn't feel comfortable enough to take a vest off at that point as well. I wore a vest for the photo shoot, and that for me was extremely difficult when I'd see my clients feeling so confident within themselves and I didn't feel confident within that point. I felt a little bit like an imposter, in all honesty, as well, and that also sparked even more of a motivation to push on even more as well. And within a matter of 2 months after that, I went travelling to Southeast Asia to explore Bali, Australia and Thailand. And you know what? At that point in my life, I felt the most confidence I've ever felt before. I was about 85, 86 kilo. And at that point in my life, I think I'd lost around 25 kilo at that point. I could be fucking wrong. I started at 110 kilo. Yes, about 25 kilo, 24 kilo at that point in my life. And it really did completely change the travel experience for myself as well. And was a trip of a lifetime, one that I'll never ever forget as well. And, while I was away at that point, it gave me the motivation looking back over the year of what I'd achieved and how far I'd come within a year. I lost 25 kilo body fat, right? I'd achieved goals that I never thought, I believe, was possible 12 months prior. And when I was in Thailand, I actually got in touch with my coach now, Jack. A massive shout out to him. He may be watching this, he may not be watching this, but he's been in my corner ever since that November 2025. It would have been November 2024. It would have been. And we pushed on. I had goals, I had ambitions, I had things that I wanted to go and achieve. And it's safe to say we went and done them. I come home from travelling at December 2024 and went into 2025 with the goals of completing a Hyrox solo again to beat my previous best again. So I had a goal, I had a focus. And alongside that was getting in shape and be able to feel fucking comfortable enough without my t-shirt on, which is a big thing for me at the time, as you can probably tell. I was smiling, but yeah, I'd done a photo shoot which was to feel comfortable and confident and actually mark a point within my life that I felt comfortable and happy within my own skin. And it also marked a point in my life where I actually went through probably one of the most difficult times of my life as well. Like, I'm going to be honest, between getting back from travelling and April time 2025 was probably the hardest couple of months I've ever had in like my own personal life as well, alongside my very starting position of my own weight loss journey as well. And it was difficult for a lot of personal reasons. I'd went through a lot in my life at that point, a lot of personal problems that was difficult, and I don't want to dive into it too much, but it was difficult, let's put it that way. And that photo shoot marked a special moment for me because it was like, you know what, Mark, you've worked your ass off just over the last year and a half essentially to get your life back. And that for me was a real set in stone that, you know, I could do things again, and I got my confidence back at that point in my life, and it really showed me what I'm capable of all over again as well. But it also gave me even more excitement, motivation, inspiration as a coach. And I feel like over the last year to 2 years, I've been able to help my clients the best way I've ever been able to help them before. I've become a better coach and I've been a better person to be around because I've been through that process again. I understand, and whenever a client comes to me or someone comes to me, I feel like I can understand them, I can resonate with them, I can be in their shoes, and I can support them in that way and help them break those mindsets that kept me stuck, that can help them stuck as well. And after that, I went on to achieve another Hyrox in London and a Hyrox doubles as well, which was, yeah, a special day. And, you know, here we are 2 years later. I know that's a little bit of a fast wrap up, but the camera's on 2%, so I don't really want to miss the back end of this. And yeah, as I say, it's been a journey. It's been a special journey. And, you know, 2 years later, we are here on the 18th of March 2026, so about 26 months ago now, I decided to make that decision to change my life around. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made. One of the hardest decisions I ever made, but I knew if I stayed in my comfort zone any longer, my life was not going to go in the direction that I wanted it to go in. And things were, I dread to imagine where things would be today if I never made that change. So, as I say, if you're watching this, you know, I ended up in that position because I took the wrong turns and, you know, I didn't prioritize myself. So, if you're watching this, take this as your sign. Prioritize yourself. Yes, the road may be long, but trust me, with the right goals, the right vision, the right support, you've got it. Okay? So, yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed. The camera's going to die, and I'll catch you soon. Let's go.